Good evening. Today's topic is uniform circular motion, which is the fourth part of our chapter Motion in a Plane. Before we go into this topic, let us refresh ourselves of what we already know about circular motion from class 9. Now, here I have drawn the path of a particle executing circular motion. So, let the particle be at, let's say, position P at some time t, and after a time interval delta t, let its new position be P dash. Okay? So, this particle moves from P to P dash in a time interval delta t. So, this distance covered is what I am going to take as delta S, the total distance from P to P dash. If I draw the shortest route from P to P dash, the shortest distance, then that is what you would call as the displacement of the particle in time delta t. And if you look at the angle covered, the angle covered in that time interval is what I would call as delta theta. So here, this distance covered, that is delta S by delta t, we already know is called the speed of the particle given in meter per second. We also know that the displacement of the particle, that is delta r by delta t, is what we have as the linear velocity of the particle. This is linear displacement, this is this is angular displacement. So linear displacement by time we have as linear velocity, which is also given in meter per second. So when a body executes circular motion, it has two types of displacement. One is the linear displacement, the other one is the angular displacement. The linear displacement by time is the linear velocity v expressed in meter per second, and the angular velocity, that is angular displacement by delta t, is what we have as omega, referred to as the angular speed or the angular frequency, which is given in radian per second, because for theta the SI unit is radian and time is in seconds. Now, also I think you know from 9th standard that when a particle starts from here, completes one revolution and reaches back here, the time taken is what you call as the time period in seconds. So, if I write the time here and the number of revolutions made here, for a time period t, the number of revolutions will be 1, because we define time period as a time taken for completing one revolution. Similarly, you know frequency, that is linear frequency, is a number of revolutions completed by the particle in 1 second. So, for 1 second, the number of revolutions completed will be 1 by t. This 1 by t is what you call as the linear frequency, nu, in revolutions per second, which is also represented in hertz, the SI unit. So, the angular speed or angular frequency is the angular displacement by time in radian per second. 1 by t, which you call as the linear frequency, is represented in terms of the SI unit is revolution per second or simply per second or in hertz. Now, the relation between this and this is what I'm going to show you now. See, we know that this delta theta by delta t is what we have as omega. So, when your particle starts from here and completes one revolution, that happens in the time capital T, that is time period, but the angle it covers would have been 360, which is 2 pi radian. So, if you substitute here, delta theta is 2 pi radian when the time is the time period t. So, this is what we have as omega, and 1 by t I just told you is the linear frequency. So, this is equal to 2 pi nu. So, this relation you need to know, where omega is the angular frequency or angular speed, which is 2 pi by t, where t is the time period. So, it's also equal to 2 pi nu, when nu is in revolution per second or in hertz, which is called the linear frequency. So, knowing this much, we may now go into our main topic for today, uniform circular motion. In this uniform circular motion, this picture that I have drawn here, I have shown you that only part of the circle, this particle has started from P at time t. After time delta t, it has reached P dash and it will complete a circular motion. I have only taken that part where the particle starts at P and at some time interval delta t. After that, it reaches P dash. Now, in the previous sections, I discussed with you that the direction of instantaneous velocity is always along the tangent drawn at that point in the direction of motion. So if your particle is moving in this circular motion, if you want to find the direction of instantaneous velocity at any point, the instantaneous velocity is represented by the tangent drawn at that point in the direction of motion. So as this particle reaches here, the velocity of the particle v dash will be drawn along the tangent, the direction. So this and this represents the velocity of the particle at two different instants of time when the particle is at position P and P dash. So here I may displace the vector B dash and B. Before in our discussions on vectors, I told you you can displace your vector anywhere you want, provided you don't change its magnitude and direction. So I may displace this vector B from here to this position, provided the magnitude and direction is not changed. I have drawn a parallel line like this. Also this B dash vector I have pulled from here and displaced it here without changing its magnitude and drawing a parallel line so that the direction is also not changed. Now here you may write the final velocity V dash minus the initial velocity V is equal to delta V, right? Or I may rewrite and write V dash is equal to V plus delta V. From the triangular law of vector addition, we know that if two vectors are added and this is their resultant, the two vectors that are added are taken as the adjacent sides of a triangle taken in the same order, and the resultant will be given by the third side taken in the opposite order. So which means if V and delta V are the two vectors that are going to be added, they should be taken in the same order. So V plus delta V must be given in this direction. Only then the two vectors that are added, V plus delta V, will give the resultant V dash taken in the opposite order. So from this we know that the direction of change in velocity is towards the center of that circular motion, that circle described by the particle in circular motion. Why this is important is because when we need to find out the acceleration of the particle, A is given by change in velocity by change in time. So time being a scalar quantity, the acceleration of the particle will be in the same direction as its change in velocity. So as the velocity changes its direction, at this particular point, the change between this position and this position in a time interval delta t, the change in velocity delta v is directed towards the center. That means the acceleration of the particle is also towards the center. So it is called the centripetal acceleration, denoted by AC. The word centripetal means, in Greek it means center seeking. So because delta v is towards the center, the acceleration of the particle is also towards the center, and therefore we call that acceleration as centripetal acceleration. So what that means, a particle which is in circular motion at any point has its velocity along the tangent. At every point the velocity will be along the tangent, but the force which is equal to mass into acceleration, whatever is the direction of acceleration will be the direction of force, because mass is a scalar, and since a body in circular motion has its acceleration towards the center, the force also should be directed towards the center, and that force is what you call as the centripetal force. Now you will see from this diagram that the centripetal force and the velocity make an angle 90. That means velocity is in the direction of displacement. You know that the work done on a particle is force into displacement, and in 9th standard you learned that if the force and displacement are perpendicular to each other, then the work done on the particle is zero. Work done, as you know, is energy. So, work done is equal to change in kinetic energy of a body, and if the work done on the body is zero, then that means there is no change in the kinetic energy of the body. Since mass is a constant, this actually implies that there is no change in the velocity of in the speed of the particle, which means if this b is, let's say, 5 meter per second, because the force and the velocity, that is the displacement, are perpendicular to each other, there is no work done, zero work done. That means there is no change in the kinetic energy of the body, which means there is no change in the speed of the particle. Or if this is 5 meter per second, at every point of the circular motion, the speed will remain the same. That is why it is called uniform circular motion. So here, but it is accelerated because at every point the direction of velocity keeps on changing. It's along the tangent. So as the direction keeps on changing, it is accelerated just because there is a change in direction of the velocity, but no change in the magnitude of velocity, that is speed. So we are now going to find out an expression for this centripetal acceleration. That is what we need to do now. Expression for centripetal acceleration. Okay. So here, if you notice, before we start that, see, if you have a line like this and this is the perpendicular to the line, and I shift this line through, let's say, 30 degree, the perpendicular also will shift through the same angle. That means the angle between two lines will be the angle between their perpendiculars. If you look at this diagram here, this is the radius of the circle and this is the tangent. So this is perpendicular to this line. Similarly, this is the radius and this is the tangent. So this is perpendicular to this. So if I take these two lines which maintain an angle delta theta, then their perpendiculars must also have the same delta theta between them. So perpendiculars would be this and this. So the angle between the perpendiculars, this angle will also be delta theta. I'll repeat once more. If you have two lines and if you shift this line through theta, the perpendicular will also shift through the same angle. So here, since these two lines maintain an angle delta theta, to this line we have this as the perpendicular, to this line we have this as the perpendicular. So the angle between the perpendiculars will also be delta theta. Also, I just told you now, in magnitude, B dash and B have the same magnitude, the length will be the same. So this is an isosceles triangle with the base angles equal. Similarly, in this triangle, this is the radius, this is also the radius. So that these two angles are also the same, the base angles. Which means that this triangle and this triangle are similar by AA similarity. So if you want to write the ratio property of similar triangles, I may write delta V by B. That is, delta V by B must be equal to delta R by R. So we have this as delta R by capital R, or delta V is equal to V into delta R by R. This, we know already that we know that the linear velocity is given by delta R by delta T, right? Delta R by delta T is what we call as the linear velocity. So I am going to cross multiply and replace the delta R here as V by R into delta R is delta R by delta T. Sorry. Delta R is V into delta T. What we want is centripetal acceleration. So centripetal acceleration is delta V by delta T. Delta V is what we have here. Divide by delta T, this will get cancelled. and we have this as v square by r, where v is the linear velocity of the particle, and we already know that this v is equal to r omega. So if I substitute that here, we have another formula for centripetal acceleration. V square can be written as r square omega square. Cancel that r here, and we have this as r omega. R omega square. V square r square will be r square omega square. That r and this r will get cancelled, and we have r omega square. We also know that this omega is 2 pi nu. So if I substitute that here, we have another formula for our centripetal acceleration. Square this, we have 4 pi square nu square into r. So these are all formulas for the centripetal acceleration. In terms of linear velocity, it is v square by r. In terms of angular frequency or angular speed, it is r omega square. And in terms of linear frequency, it is 4 pi square nu square into r. Okay. So our topic on uniform circular motion is complete for today. I hope you remember that all these formulas are very important for you to carry over from class 11 to class 12. Thank you.